I work at UNSW Art and Design, and I've been quite interested over the last few years in transitional spaces across academic, creative and professional practice. Very interested also in the critical partnerships and developing social networks, and particularly graduate social connectedness capabilities, that kind of thing. So the title of the piece is actually from a student quote from their self-reflective report from their professional experience placement. From kitchen hand, I felt like I went from a kitchen hand to a creative professional. So I thought that was kind of a nice way to kind of get into the notion of PEP, Professional Experience Project. This was a student sending me, there's a band called PEP, OPEP, and their kind of funny way of saying, oh, what, you know, all these things we have to go through and the challenges, and yet it's a band, Kim, and they travel around. So it was, I thought, an interesting way to kind of think about PEP. The other thing is that it has been very traditional in art and design education, and also our design programs to have professional experience for about 25 years. But this first time in 2016 it is fine arts and media students as well as design. So that's quite innovative. It's not just a traditional kind of placement. So it's very new for our studio degrees, the Design and Dual Awards, the Media Arts and Dual Awards and the Fine Arts program. Why that is so unusual is because of the unique focus on the individual artist in fine arts and in media arts to some extent. So the key things, 150 hours, social media, online public profile, and the key thing I wanted to talk about today, negotiated projects. There's approval and confidentiality, and I've instigated 3 forms of feedback: student, self, industry, mentor, and myself as the convener. This was the initial diagram for PEP and how it was going to run that I was given and to enact. So this was kind of the technology, the student pathway, very linear, and there were certain approval points. I'm the convener, and that was how it was going to run. This is the new diagram. So you have the student on this side pathway, the host pathway on the other side. This is still in development, so I've got all notes written all over this as well. But you can start to see the connectivity. That's just a very basic technological connectivity. There's a reciprocity through the online student pathway. They do a professional profile. The industry also do a profile. So we have industry coming into our learning management systems. They both do a brokered partnership, and it's a focus on the project, not traditional internship. They have their online profile. I encourage LinkedIn, the Loop, Behance, a whole range of different ways of doing that. It's really important that they get to work across digital platforms and get their work into a format that works in all digital platforms. I have fine art students crying in my office about how they can't do an online profile. There's various reasons I know for some students why they can't, but it's really about a culture shift for a lot of those students in fine arts and media who, they're not ready, for example, to put themselves there, and yet design students are right there and so on. There's Vimeo, the Loop, they all offer different things. The artist designer statement, I get them to write. The very interesting thing about that is that I look at it at the beginning of PEP, and then at the end they are encouraged to identify the shift in practice that's occurred and rewrite that. And we can track kind of their LinkedIn and online profile, keeping track of them as they go forward from the university, which is quite important. So at external facing. This is just this student's show reel. So she has LinkedIn, the Loop and a show reel. So really trying to show different ways that they work. Organising the placement is the big part of what I'm doing in negotiating. So it can be bespoke, traditional design where, it's working with a practitioner. There's a whole range of partnerships that I broker. So that's about negotiating projects. Often the student, when they find a project, will be focused on what the office space looks like or the real estate. For example, this is Clemenger's. One student did their placement there, and one shift that they've identified, a lot of students have identified, is moving from understanding it's about themselves to understanding it's about clients and brands and a whole lot of templatedness. And so this is an example of Clemenger, a big organisation. And then you have more kind of, in the negotiated projects, the same student went to DMG, which is Digital Media Group. So there's, again, a nice view, but different kind of small operational small projects, opportunities for ideation and moving across platforms. So really trying to expand the field of different types of partnerships that exist. Here's an example. You probably all know Moodle very well, but all the partnerships that I broker are down the side. There's about 75 of them. So I spend my time talking to people about the types of projects that our students can become involved with. This one's about doing a zombie trailer for a film company, which is a great opportunity for a media arts student. So an example of a bespoke placement, which is fairly traditional in design practice. The student can often do that themselves from our extensive network that we have. What we also have is more brokered opportunities where businesses, hosts or organisations write an opportunity and I work with them to develop it. Often they write them and they're really boring and the students wouldn't want to go near them at all. So working with our students to work with academics, work in collaboration on actual projects. Self-devised projects, this is a great one, the curator model with Tokyo Sing Song. So our fine arts students, they love that idea of being given $1,000 a room, you curate that room, it stays for a month, that type of thing. So self-devised projects have very clear structures around them as well. They're not just, something the students just, it's a very clear structure. I just wanted to finish really quickly by saying a couple of things at the end here about how it's sort of changing the mentor role as well. So in traditional mentoring relationships, they would go to a place where there was an art, design or media mentor. So we're trying to shift that to being like Macquarie Bank and, what does that actually look like? So I'll finish there. Thank you.